Kolani, I must say, really, having spent 2 months and having been going around the provinces with my Dumelang session, having met the leaders of that environment, I have received nothing but a very warm and good welcome by the team members at SAPS. I've met people who have displayed to me in more ways than one that they're welcoming me into the team. They are ready, willing, and committed to work with me.
There were even unions, South African Police Union, for example, that said that your appointment was an insult, that a civilian had been appointed. How are you working with that union?
We're working very well. Incidentally, I've also had some engagements with them. I've met with them, and I've received nothing else but a commitment to support and a commitment to working together.
So in other words, they've changed their mind about you?
I am not sure, Kolani. All I can tell you is that the environment is very positive.
Let's pick up on the environment. What has surprised you about the SAPS?
Look, let me start off by saying, when I accepted this role, really, I accepted it with a great sense of humility. Humility for the enormity of the task, humility for the complexity that comes with it, humility for understanding that it is indeed a very essential service for the nation. You are asking me what is it that has surprised me. I do want to say to you, the police are very organized people. That's what I have observed. I've been to a number of their offices. I've engaged with a lot of the leaders. They are very solid, organized, focused, and very aware leaders.
But what about the enormity of the task at hand?
The enormity of the task is there. The complexity of the task is there. But there are things that actually make me feel comfortable and better. There are certain things that actually say to me, it is a doable task, because I'm not going to be working alone. I'm going to be working with these very able police leaders like General Petros that is there that I'm visiting this week. I've visited a lot of them, and I have seen a lot of expertise and excellence in SAPS.
From an outsider's point of view, SAPS is in a, to say the least, a mess. Talk about the image of the organization. Talk about issues of discipline, because day in, day out, we hear about crimes committed by members. We hear about issues of corruption within SAPS. We hear about just general ill discipline, as I've just mentioned. Is it the same inside?
I pose a very different, an antithesis to the statement that you've given. I don't believe that SAPS is a mess. I believe that SAPS, like all other organizations, would have its own, areas of serious excellence. It will have its own challenges, but that it is a mess is an understatement of the highest order. They are a well-organized organization, and they work hard.
But what about the issues of confidence?
They work hard, and this is why we can have this type of conversations and even start talking the way we talk. But it is because we are having people who are working hard, who are keeping us safe and secure, and who are allowing us, to keep them growing. I mean, this, for me, the challenges that we're talking about and the criticisms can only help us grow. Continuous improvement is one thing that we focus on.
Ultimately, though, SAPS is supposed to provide a service, and that service is, if anything, to make me as a citizen of South Africa feel safe. And there's a lack of confidence, and this may be a general point from my side. It may be generalization, but the reality is that there isn't much confidence. Not a lot of South Africans feel safe in the hands of SAPS. How do we turn that around?
Yes, definitely. So it's something that we need to work on. But I want to say to you, Colin, in 2009 and in 2005, the conversations you had with this nation about safety and security and the conversations we are having today are very different, purely because there has been progress. But I want to agree with you that we do need to work harder as police to communicate, because maybe we focus a lot on our core business and do very little to communicate some of the successes that we are having and some of the good things that the service is doing. one of the things that I think I have observed equally is precisely that, to say we need to communicate more. We need to share. We need to make this community aware that there is a lot that is happening, and we're not doing it alone. Communities are working with us.
And of course, General Petros seems to agree that the conversation has moved. General Petros?
I agree with that. Xolani, what the National Commissioner is saying, I don't think we've been concentrating much on communicating, particularly externally. There's been a lot that has been happening. When you go and address conferences and address meetings outside the police, you'll hear people saying, but why didn't you talk about these things that you guys are doing internally? I think there has been much focus in terms of dealing with crime, with the core business that we're currently doing. And one other thing that is encouraging, the National Commissioner came in, and also as a person who had the perception about the police from outside, she's beginning to see what is happening internally. And actually she's picking up the same thing that is picked up by the people, by the public in general.
Operationally, though, what has changed?
There's a lot that has changed, Xolani. You would know that, in terms of policing in the country, we are actually enjoying what we actually achieved during 2010. You would know that the people were very happy with policing and safety and security in 2010. And the call that we've been made is that what is it that we can do to sustain this? If the police could do this during this month, why can't they do it all the years? And it's been a challenge that has been put on the police to sustain what we achieved during that period. And of course, you would see if you are in Joburg that visibility is sustained in a way. And of course, National Commissioner being here, we've been talking about it in terms of looking at it, in terms of spreading the thing out throughout the country.
That's a very interesting point of reference, because 2010 is actually going to be very significant. And partly, when the stats came up, the last crime stats, people said, well, it's because of the 2010 and the kind of extensive policing that happened in that area. But the bigger question is whether or not that is sustainable.
Look, Xolani, this is basically what we've been saying. The National Commissioner currently put a team together that's going to be looking in depth the statistics and the statistic that is collected within the police. And of course, we definitely have to go back in 2010 as to what happened. We broke it down month by month in terms of the work that has been done, a period before 2010 and the period after 2010. And what we've been picking up is we've been, in a sustainable way, reducing crime in the country. But more than that, Xolani, if you talk numbers, also numbers can be confusing with what the government wants to achieve. It talks about outcome 3, that the people of this country should not only feel safe, but they should be safe. And of course, that's not a measure that the South African Police will be doing. It needs the public out there to start doing the measure, to start saying, as compared to what period, we're feeling a bit safe. That's actually huge. And of course, we'll need partners to deal with this thing, as the National Commissioner is indicating. We need the public out there. We need other stakeholders to come on board in terms of understanding what is the business of the police, what is actually happening internally within the police.
Just a couple of questions on SMS, for instance. Let me take this one from David Mtunes in Mabato, who says, do we have an effective, specialized, undercover police unit to root out illegal drugs and fraudsters like bogus doctors?
Look, what is currently, which is what is being built ongoing in terms of our intelligence capabilities, you would know that we've been having serious threats in the country. And those threats were not just addressed. Let's talk about the successes in terms of convictions that are currently happening in court with the right-wingers. And it's not the people that are overt that dealt with it. Within the police, the covert capacity of the police, of the intelligence, dealt a blow to that case. And we can talk about many other examples, Xolani, that you can think of. It has not only been the uniform that has been dealing with, but unfortunately for the covert capacities, they can't come to the fore. They can't come to Xolani Kuala at the studio and say, we did it. We know it internally within the police in terms of dealing with these threats. And of course, if you come to Gauteng, you definitely need to be doing more of that, because if you look in terms of the capital of drugs actually come from here and distributed throughout the country. And you definitely have to develop those capabilities. You need to have them in place, which the Southern Police Service have. But they can't come out and say that we've been doing this. You'll only see that the Southern Police Service, busted, 100 million drugs as it happened 2-3 weeks ago. But you will never get to the explanation as to what exactly happened, what transpired throughout that operation.
General Piega, please, your responses.
Many questions.
I know. But as many as possible,
okay,
please.
Let me just touch on what Pop Crew Minor did ask questions about communication, and indeed we are on record saying we would like to up our game in that space.
Yeah.
She spoke about forensic laboratory. I must say we've upped our games in that space. We have seriously improved. We've just launched a state-of-the-art laboratory in Cape Town, and I think it's the only one of its kind in the continent and elsewhere in the world. We ranking very high in terms of that. The process is on to also look at upgrading the other forensic laboratories in the other provinces. And there's a DNA bill that has been looked into. That space is shaping well, Minor, and we're hoping that we can collaborate with health, with their laboratories, to give assistance in some of those areas. Pop Crew, indeed, thank you for that input that you've made. We definitely have to look at issues of the Police Act to see whether, there's a whole white paper process that is taking place relating to police. We hope that some of the aspects may touch on the Police Act, and we are making inputs because it's not our responsibility to make policy. It is the Ministry and the Secretariat that are doing so. We as police give operational experience, and it will help shaping policy processes going forward.
Sorry, on that one, is it also the Ministry and the Secretariat that decides on the structures? Because the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee has expressed concerns about the top-heavy structure of the SAPS. 6 deputies, I think. Or is it 6 police deputies that you have?
Yeah, about 6.
About 6. That's a lot, isn't it?
Look, proportionally, looking at the size of SAPS, proportionally, when we compare ourselves with other departments, sincerely, we are not over the top. However, we are going to respond to the issues that are being raised, to look at how we can structure ourselves in a much more intelligent and more efficient manner. So those are some of the things that I will be looking into going forward. The victim-friendly facilities, I have said there's a focus on that one, and issues of training, indeed, with the re-establishment of these units, and it was just last year, we are on an up game to deal with training, to deal with those facilities, and budget has been made available for us to fast track and accelerate that process. There were issues around a gentleman who said no clue, and then Dave, is it the man who actually hired somebody else to beat up others? David, I must say you are busy with some of the transgressions that agitates us to do what we're supposed to do. If I knew where you were, I probably will send some people. The police commissioner in KZN would send some people to come and arrest both of you, because you are all really dealing with illegal matters. I think it is not right to do so, David. Allow us to do our job. And don't be impatient. Don't hire people, because by so doing, you are, encouraging more crime.